So shall we just check we've got the last little final marks in there?
Yes, I did it all. I mean, exactly.
There was a... We kept it our... I think
I haven't done
our Lord
Jesus
Christ.
Yes.
I just...
Do you want to do that?
Can I just borrow your pen again?
Yes, of course.
A second.
I think the Christmas speech is enormously important. This certainly is an historic one. It's the first one that hasn't been given by Queen Elizabeth for many, many, many years.
Do you want me to do that one? Yeah. I'm standing here in this exquisite chapel of St. George at Windsor Castle, so close to where my beloved mother, the late Queen, is laid to rest with my dear father. I'm reminded of the deeply touching letters, cards, and messages which so many of you have sent my wife and myself. And I cannot thank you enough for the love and sympathy you have shown our whole family. Okay. Is that?
Yeah.
With all my heart, I wish each of you a Christmas of peace, happiness, and everlasting light.
We were right at the end of our summer holiday, and my phone went, and my chief of staff just said, London Bridge. And it was an extraordinary moment.
A few moments ago, Buckingham Palace announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth.
This is someone I'd known and deeply admired and respected. Someone who'd always been there, all the things that everyone else felt. Plus, I suddenly thought, everything we've practiced for, everything we thought about is now going to happen.
In my case, it was purely serendipity that I was there. And I'd been in 2 days up on the West Coast, and I was coming back, stayed the night, and was going south. We always enjoyed being in Balmoral. We spent a lot of time there in our youth, and there was, a lot of it was probably more independent life than almost anywhere else. That's probably still true. That's a bonus. I think there was a moment when she felt that it would be more difficult if she died at Balmoral.
The salad is ready.
And I think we did try and persuade her that that shouldn't be part of the decision-making process. So I hope she felt that that was right in the end, because I think that we did. My mother's funeral in St. George's, when he takes the crown off the coffin, I rather weirdly felt a sense of relief. Somehow that's it, finished. But that was that responsibility being moved on.
To my darling Mama, as you begin your last great journey to join my dear late Papa, I want simply to say this. Thank you. Thank you for your love and devotion to our family and to the family of nations you have served so diligently all these years. May flights of angels sing thee to thy rest.
to be honest, I'm not sure that anybody can really prepare themselves for that kind of change, or at least not easily. And then the change happens and you go, okay, I now have to get on with it.
The plan is it's the two of them together in white, and then Her Majesty second, and then it still stays white, and then King Charles third, and then rotate it once to black. Okay.
The reign of King Charles and Queen Camilla is a new era in the history of the monarchy. At the heart of every successful reign, there's a strong partnership. To celebrate that bond, the King and Queen are having their first official portraits taken by royal photographer Hugo Bernand.
I think about every photograph I take. What is the information that the viewer is going to take from this? What are they going to feel? How are they going to interpret it? When you look at the photograph, I want you, the viewer, to feel like you're in conversation with the person in the photograph. And you're going to turn more towards the light. And you're on the spot. We've spent 2 days here practicing, lighting, kicking ideas around. It's almost like you guys aren't on the right spot. I'm sure you are. It's just that I'm not getting the red chair in, which I was getting before. So go a bit closer to, yeah, that's better, that's perfect. Work it, work it, work it, which is not what we're going to say to their majesties. It's always fun. It's just always fun. We have a bit of a laugh, and I think we get nice pictures.
Good morning, Your Majesty. Thank you so much for asking us. Not at all, not at all. How are you, Your Majesty?
How are you? Nice to see you.
Now, I'm just going to quickly let you know what we're doing. We're doing one picture here of the pair of you.
Yes. Right.
Then I'm going to do a picture with just you very quickly.
Good, sir.
So I'm going to ask you, sir, to step aside. Then I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to take one very quick picture of you on your own.
Right.
Now, toes, yours are together on that one.
Yes.
And then
Okay.
I just need you to come back a fraction this way towards me to there. Brilliant. And so can you get your that foot on that one?
Good Lord.
And this is all so we don't have pillars coming out of people's heads or chandeliers coming out of ears. It's incredibly well organized.
Okay.
One question I want to ask you is,
Far away.
are we allowed to that hand?
Yes, yes.
Is it allowed to go there?
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
It's,
Brilliant.
yeah. Yeah.
It's so nice, this. The daylight, we've got spring daylight, actually for real, but we've lit it as if it is just spring daylight. And so can you just turn very, oh yes you did, just very fractionally that way. Yes. That's it. And then, and straight to me, like that, with that. I love it, I love it. That is how quick we are.
Very good.
The great thing about these particular pictures is they are the first official formal photographs, but they're not so formal. I am really pleased. I think they're really great people, and I want that character to come through. I just think they're both individually and together fantastic. And I hope that some of that comes through in the pictures. That's what I really want.
Charles III is not just King of the United Kingdom, he's also head of the Commonwealth. Only weeks after his accession, he's hosting one of its most important leaders, the South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa.
Monarchy is a 365 days a year occupation, and it doesn't stop because you change monarchs for whatever reason.
President Ramaphosa, welcome. Evsheni, Dumela, Suabona, Molo, Molweni, Nda. Wow. Mr. President, my wife and I are delighted to welcome you to Buckingham Palace this evening.
But it's a big operation. The amount of entertaining is much bigger than even they'd recognised. But I think my brother, he's learning things about the organisation that he perhaps was only vaguely aware of before, and he's quite enjoying that too.
The coronation has been scheduled for the 6th of May. So major alterations are underway on the treasures which will be the centerpiece of the ceremony, the crown jewels.
I'm Mark Appleby and I'm Crown Jeweller, which means that I look after all the fantastic regalia, crowns, jewellery and silverware in the Tower of London. On this occasion, we have been asked to modify 3 crowns for the up-and-coming coronation on May the 6th.
Each monarch's head is a different shape. So for every coronation, the crowns must be adjusted to fit the king and queen.
We need to remove as much of the pieces that detach before we start our modification. And at the moment, I'm in the midst of taking off the Mond and the cross patty, which holds one of the most famous sapphires in the world, which date back to 1066, the St. Edward's sapphire. The legend has it that it was worn by Edward the Confessor, and as he was being interned into Westminster, when they opened the coffin, he was still wearing this sapphire as a ring. So incredibly, it's found its way into our imperial state crown.
One of the most spectacular jewels in the imperial state crown is a diamond known as Cullinan II.
Cullinan number 2 comes from a large family of 9 major stones. It sits in the imperial state crown, where its big brother sits in the sovereign scepter. This diamond weighs just under 320 carats. It's D colour, it's a flawless diamond. It's just one of the most historic diamonds in the world. It's just so priceless that I don't think that you could put a value on that stone today.
This is the St. Edward crown. It's the oldest piece of, almost the oldest piece of coronation regalia. It was made in 1660, modelled on a crown that was melted down, courtesy of Oliver Cromwell. This is entirely gold, 18-carat yellow gold, and is incredibly heavy. It was reduced in size for George V. I'm going to put those pieces back now to get it back up to size. Well, in many ways, this is the most important piece of all. We have the imperial state crown that everybody's familiar with. Her Majesty wore it for state openings and so forth. It's a very nice crown, but this is several centuries older, and the idea is that when this is placed upon someone's head, at that moment, that person becomes the monarch. So if you like, this is the object of coronation.
One of the most important duties of a monarch is that of Commander-in-Chief. Leading our armed forces and supporting allies and friends. Today, the King is visiting Ukrainian troops who have been trained in the UK before being sent to the front line.
So this is Andre, who's the...
Pleasure to meet you, and it's Ukraine Commander, Lieutenant Colonel.
Oh. And are you here for some weeks?
Yeah, I just came in January and plan to be here as long as I can. So, but according to the plan, we plan to stay here till the July.
You are amazing. I don't know how you do it. Full of admiration.
Yeah.
Hey, join us in the middle! Join us in the middle!
Most of them, they came from civilian lives, and they have never been before the militaries and don't know how to manage but the weapons. And after the 35 days, they become a real soldiers who is ready to go to the front line. Доброго дня, я Алекс, я з України, мені 32 роки. То я працював вчителем, мені подобалася моя професія, географія, біологія. Зараз стою в лавах Збройних сил України.
Are you halfway through the course?
Ви десь на половині свого курсу чи вже до кінця?
Так, половина,
Oh, yes, they're just at the halfway point.
They're working you quite hard.
Ну, і, надіюсь, вони вас вижимають соки.
Good.
There's so much to learn.
Дуже багато навчитися за цей період.
Да.
Oh, yeah.
Для мене це дуже хвилюючий момент. Я ні в своєму житті не сподівався, що буде зустріч з королем. Це дуже велика постать в нашому житті. І кожен би, напевно, хотів бути на моєму місці і мати таку унікальну можливість. Але я радий, що це випала саме ця честь мені.
And are these the weapons
І
you
це, власне, є
use
зброї, які ви будете використовувати в Україні?
Так, Калаш.
Oh, yes, the model and the Kalashnikov version.
And I hear you've been
І, власне, чую, що ви
having to dig
мусили багато
trenches.
копати
have
тут.
you?
На
Це
цій...
нормально, нам знадобиться
Oh,
українці.
yeah, it's very useful.
The king spoke with them, and of course it motivated them to fight better and better. Because if you're alone, it was difficult to fight. But we are not alone. Long live the king and thank for all your country.
It isn't only the king who's shouldering new responsibilities. The Queen is also taking on a range of new roles,
Here we are again.
including an association with one of the most decorated cavalry regiments in the British Army.
Her Majesty the Queen has been appointed our Colonel-in-Chief, and this is really her first day in that role.
Hello, Richard. I'd like to see
Majesty. Well, it's lovely to see you, and on such a great day. I know, really exciting. Yeah, exactly. Hurrah.
This is an official role with a personal connection. The Queen's father was a lancer during the Second World War.
He was a troop leader in the 12th Lancers who took part in the Battle of El Alamein. He was chasing across the desert and decided to attack what he thought was some transport and logistics, fairly soft target. Turned out that it was actually Rommel's headquarters and was rather more heavily defended than he was expecting. Unfortunately, in the engagement, his vehicle was blown up, his gunner and driver were both killed, and he was seriously wounded. He got 2 military crosses, which is pretty unusual. So, yeah, very, very distinguished war record.
Well, I'm sure wherever he is today, he'd be absolutely thrilled that, you know, I was now doing this role.
Well, we are equally thrilled now.
And today, there's an extra cause for celebration. Michael de Burgh, a former Lancer, is 100 years old.
What Her Majesty is most interested in today is that you enjoy today and, of course, the really exciting and important celebration.
To mark Michael's centenary, Queen Camilla has invited him to Clarence House.
Where's the hand? Oh. There we are, Michael. Many congratulations.
Thank you.
How nice to see you again.
I'm so pleased.
There you are. It's pretty showy.
Well, birthday present was absolutely fantastic. I never expected anything of that sort, especially from lovely new Queen. Heave me up.
No, yeah. Please don't. I'm coming down.
Oh no!
I'm coming down, so you can't get up.
She's a lovely person, and we're very lucky to have her.
I've known her a long time, off and on. Her understanding of her role and how much difference it makes to the king has been absolutely outstanding. And this role is not something that she would have been a natural for, but she does it really well.
Oh, that's it.
Right the way down. But Sophie will have to take it and unpack it right.
And she provides that change of speed and tone, which is equally important.
During the coronation, Queen Camilla will be crowned alongside the king. With the coronation countdown underway, more than 20 embroiderers are working round the clock to finish the robe the Queen will wear as she leaves Westminster Abbey. Layers of gold thread and pearls are being sewn into 4 meters of velvet to a spectacular and very special design.
We were very keen to tell a story, something that was very personal to her. So there's elements from childhood, birthdays, family, marriage. We've got myrtle, which symbolises love. Chrysanthemums, joy, tenderness. We have our wild garden here along the bottom, and as the design travels up the robe, you'll notice we've got some beautiful spring flowers, because May, a time of awakening and hope and new beginnings. Lily of the Valley, which were in her wedding bouquet. One of my favourite flowers, actually, is the barley here, which is representative of her childhood and growing up in the countryside. Nestled beautifully and not lost is Her Majesty's cipher here. Yeah, I hope she loves it.
Hello, Horry. Nice to see you.
Very well.
Hello, Horry. Nice to see you.
And they're going to show you around and the work that we've been doing here.
See what's been going on.
This. So who did the actual design?
Wow, the whole team here.
the whole team.
So it was a bit of a collaboration, so we did lots of research. So a very naturalistic gardening theme, you'll notice.
Yes.
Some delphiniums.
Oh, very good. Well done.
Yeah.
Love the butterflies here in there too.
So we've got a little caterpillar in here.
I'll
as
come
well.
back in.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, this is another, what is that? No, dandelion.
That's a dandelion. You see, look, that's the dandelions, Liz.
Yes, exactly. They're very, oh, good, yes. Oh, look. Splendid.
The clock is also ticking for another group of artists whose work will take centre stage. The Ascension Choir has been chosen by the King. They're the first gospel singers to perform at a coronation.
I was brought up with an appreciation for gospel music. It's one of the veins of music that really talks about the human condition. Today we are going to have our last solo rehearsal. Make sure that we are absolutely ready for the day.
I was in the middle of making dinner and Bim calls me up and I just made a noise and it was the sort of noise my husband came running. He was just like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, yeah. Yes. The answer is yes, and whatever you need, yes. It was very special. My mother-in-law loves me.
Sing praises unto our God. Sing praises, praises, praises. Sing unto our King.
I mean, people ask you, have you met the King? Have you met... I mean, you meet the King, but, you know, we're not talking about the football results and, you know, he's not coming around my house for a cup of tea. You know, you meet him, it's for a limited amount of time. He's very nice. You're very nice. It's very pleasant. He's very funny. And very knowledgeable about music.
King of all the earth, for God.
I think it's important at such an amazing moment in the country's history to represent the beauty and the diversity that really exists, you know, in the United Kingdom.
The King has a range of new responsibilities. But he also has historic commitments. One of these is to the organisation which, for the last 5 decades, has borne his name. The Prince's Trust. Set up to support underprivileged youngsters, it has now helped over 1.2 million people. Today, the King is meeting Prince's Trust Award winners and patrons.
Yes, because I passed them.
Your
Is
Majesty.
it really you?
It's yes. How are you? Good to see you again.
Your Majesty.
We missed you yesterday, Your
And I'm so
Majesty.
sorry about
It wasn't half as good a show without you.
That's the problem.
So how many years have you done it?
That was our 11th yesterday.
Was it?
Yeah.
You are astonishing. That is.
Oh, we love it. We love it.
Amazing record of loyalty and devotion.
Well,
The King has also invited Prince's Trust beneficiaries from the past.
You look the part, mate. You look like you just fell out of Debenhams window.
Oh, thank you very
if
much.
it was still in business.
I was going to say, that made the suit.
People who were helped by the charity nearly 40 years ago.
I left school in '78. Didn't do overly well in school. Wasn't motivated to do well. It was a very difficult place to get employment in Liverpool at the time.
Most of the big employers had kind of left. So we were starting to see our fathers losing their jobs as well. There was no sense that you were going to get a job, so why bother looking?
They were very dark times, I suppose. The only news that was coming out of Liverpool in the 1980s was bad news.
Bad news.
Your Majesty.
Mr. Graham Ray.
Nice to meet you.
Ah,
Yes, exactly. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Because did I not meet you in those years?
1980.
I do remember. Was it not a car cleaning? Was it started?
Rags and Wipers.
Rags and Wipers, that's right.
Wipers, sir, yeah.
Wipers.
38 years.
38 years?
38 years.
You gave us £3,000 in 1986, and it lasted 38 years. So we created quite a substantial business up there. All down to you.
There was a friend of mine who says, why don't you go and speak to the Prince's Trust? We didn't realise that it was the Prince of Wales who was behind it.
They start asking me questions. What are you going to do? Impress me. Sell yourself to me.
Something being there at that moment ignited something.
And they said, they'll give you £1,000.
Now, you either take it and run and go and get drunk with it, or you take it and go, I think I'll do something with
This is Willy Wonka's ticket.
So we just kept on going, head down, kept on going.
Since it began, Ray Brothers has employed more than 250 people.
Oh, hard serve as well.
We've stayed in Toxteth. We've employed people from Toxteth.
We built a business that lasts for 40 years. He made it possible.
I'm so glad about that.
Thanks, sir. It's lovely to see you. The transformation now, what you're seeing now, to what it was when you gave us that money years ago, unbelievable. It's a great place.
All that Albert Dock area.
Yeah.
It's marvellous.
It's brilliant. You played your part, well done.
What,
in everything.
That's right.
I don't want to blow smoke at the guy, but to tell you the truth, if I ever envied anything, it's not the palaces and the wealth and the stuff like that. On my crib sheet, when I meet me mate and said, hang on a minute, I helped 1 million kids here to actually come out from an underprivileged area. I changed a huge amount of people's lives.
Yes.
That's my claim to fame.
Yeah.
The winners, if you let your hard work and your glee just rise up, coming out of your cheek muscles and coming towards the cameras over here, and we are done. Thank you very much.
With the coronation fast approaching, preparations are intensifying. Many of the items at the heart of the ceremony are handmade, including 2 pieces vital to the crowning of the King and Queen.
My name is Philip Tracy, and I'm a hat designer. I got a phone call from the King's office to ask if I would do this, and it took me a few weeks to actually take in what was involved. I've had a great experience designing hats for incredible events and incredible moments. When you work with the royal family, you're working with history. It's a different dimension. The cap of maintenance is a term that's been around since, I believe, the Middle Ages, and it is a term that was used for the cap which sits inside the crown. And the cap of maintenance is actually what fits the head. It basically stops the crown from becoming a necklace. So it actually is what's holding the crown on the head. We started by making a cross-section of Their Majesty's heads, and then we had exactly the template made in wood of the point of contact of the crown. This was the original lining from St. Edward's crown, so then we replicated because it's an ingenious way of keeping something very heavy on. It's a beautiful purple velvet. And then this is a white Duchess satin. As we build up the layers of material, that starts to add up dramatically, and suddenly something very two-dimensional becomes three-dimensional. It was fascinating to work on something like this because all fairy tales come from these crowns.
Crowns and robes are eye-catching symbols. But coronation is first and foremost a religious ceremony. And the mysterious ritual which lies at its heart is anointment, when the monarch is touched with holy oil.
It starts in Jewish history with the anointing of kings. So it's at least 3,000 years old. And that was always done as a symbol and sacrament of the Holy Spirit filling the person being anointed.
For the coronation of Charles III, anointing oil is being sourced from the birthplace of Christianity.
Some of these trees on the Mount of Olives, they go back to the time of Jesus. You know, we're talking about over 2,000 years old olive trees. And these trees have witnessed a lot. They may have held the hands of Jesus during his passion. These olives were picked prayerfully, knowing that, you know, the king will be anointed with this oil.
After being picked and pressed, the oil is taken to the place where Jesus' body is said to have lain after crucifixion.
That oil resembles God's wisdom given to the king in order to carry out his responsibilities as leader of the community, to lead God's people in all righteousness and all truth. By the power of thy Spirit, bless and sanctify this oil. Trying to be the king or the leader of everybody is not an easy task. We will always pray for him. So this oil may be to King Charles a sign of joy and gladness. And I would think that this is his greatest gift, that he will be the king of all the British people, now and forever. Amen.
The route to the coronation was endless rehearsal. In the last couple of weeks, we went to Buckingham Palace, and the ballroom was set up to scale. That is, with all the names of the countries of the... Oh, I won't distract you. I hadn't seen it before, I just admiring
It's quite
it.
something.
It is.
Here we go then. Lift. I'm Sergeant Major David Roper from the Grenadier Guards. There's a point in the coronation where His Majesty the King will be anointed with oil. My part is to command the 6 non-Christian officers from the Household Division who've been selected to bear what we call the anointing screen, which is a large screen that forms 3 sides of a square around the anointing so that the private part of the ceremony can be conducted. Right, we'll do screen 1, then we'll do 2 and 3 as a oneer, okay? Raise. Quick, march. We've spent a lot of time rehearsing to make sure the choreography will be just so on the day. We've rehearsed on a nearly daily basis for about 10 days now, and of course that will heat up more in the final week before the coronation. Here we go then. Quiet in the cheap seats. We get to form a small but an integral part of the process of crowning the sovereign. Concentrate on keeping it upright. Good, nice and steady now. Good. And yeah, showing our devotion as members of the Household Division. Stand by, stand still.
The part of Westminster Abbey where the coronation will take place is known as the theatre. A replica of the theatre has been built inside Buckingham Palace. Here, each stage of the ceremony is meticulously rehearsed.
So we have to imagine then that the King's procession has gone in. So
we're in place.
Yes, Mr. Dean, if you'd be up at the Archbishop of York. I'm Mark Birch. I'm the precentor of Westminster Abbey. I'm hoping at this point you will bring the fold stool out for the King. A precentor is the person who looks after the services in the Abbey. As Her Majesty comes through, Bishop's assistant move in either side of her. So that's Norwich and Hereford. And I'm trying to remember which side you're on. It's my job and other people around their Majesties to make sure that they're really comfortable with all the movements and all the different elements of what is quite a complicated service. So going that way, so across the page, Norwich, perfect, on the right. We've got a huge procession of about, I think it's about 70 people, all going to different places in the Abbey, holding different things. So we've got to rehearse them very, very carefully and make sure that all the timings work as well.
To familiarise themselves with their roles, the King and Queen are attending the rehearsal.
So there will be a little bit of time while the Gloria finishes, but at the end of the Gloria, the Archbishop will say, "Let us pray," and then we all stand. I guess we're about halfway through our rehearsal schedule, so then you're given the words to say. Everybody's tremendously focused on getting it right, and there's just a great sense of all working together to make sure that everything runs smoothly and beautifully and gloriously as it should. This is a kneeling moment, I'm afraid. If Your Majesties would kneel, then everyone else around you will stand.
After the
Yes. I wonder whether they are maybe quite a long way away.
They're quite a long way. You don't want to have to step.
There are still bits that confuse me. I mean, the bits with the swords, I still have to think through very, very carefully. So that was said when you were holding it up to the altar.
Oh yes, receive these kingly swords. Yes, absolutely.
So then I give a sword to you.
I keep passing the sword back.
No, they're so good.
You say a prayer.
Look at your right hand. I'm penny
Upright,
this
grasp it by the
Yes, and hold it upright.
upright.
It's all cloaked in the mists of medieval chivalry, and so it's not surprising that it doesn't make a lot of sense necessarily. So then a prayer of thanksgiving is made for the oil that's been brought from Jerusalem, and then the screens come around. What I get from these rehearsals is just clearly what a great, hugely meaningful moment this is for both of them. With the king, you get a real sense that this means everything to him. Then the Dean approaches, carrying the crown with the Archbishop.
I say a prayer with the crown up there, and then slowly lower it, tipping forward.
Yes, you have to jam it on, so it has to come down to here first.
Just above your eyebrows.
Here first, and then push down.
The king has been in high-profile public life for a long, long time, but this is the moment when as it were, he takes on literally the whole weight of his office. You know, the weight of that crown. It's not just symbolic; it's actual. It's about the weight of kingship.
I don't want to break your neck.
They won't.
It would ruin the service.
I promise. It's so huge.
Yes.
It's got to be on right. I can't do anything about it.
Quite.
It's a role like no other that he's taking on. And I think all the ceremony and the glory of the coronation all reflects the sense of just the sheer significance of his role.
I'm Graham Usher, I'm the Bishop of Norwich, and my role at the coronation is to be one of Her Majesty the Queen's Bishop Assistants.
Your Majesty, we finally got to the... We're about to crown you.
Oh, you're about
Sorry. Would you kneel for the anointing?
Yes, right, okay.
I think she's entering into it with great humility.
A tiny bit of oil, I promise.
Just a dab.
A dab.
A dab. It is the merest dab.
The
A
merest.
day in her life that is going to be quite incredible.
So,
I just dip my fingers in the end and go, I turn to the king.
Indeed.
Your Majesty.
You've got to say yes or no.
If you don't say anything, if you don't nod or indicate, sir, I can't crown Her Majesty.
Don't bother to look. I'm very happy to go.
She has been immensely calm during the rehearsals. Also quite clear as to what she would like or how she thinks that something should be. Her sister will be standing right beside her.
Yes.
Her grandsons and a great nephew behind her as her pages. And I think she will be carried by that love and support of her family and the wider royal family and everyone gathered in Westminster Abbey.
With the coronation just days away, the King and Queen are inspecting their modified crowns.
We have Martin Swift, crown jeweller before myself.
It's taken months of painstaking work to alter the regalia.
What we'd like to do is show you a little of what went on behind the scenes.
Be a great deal easier to wear like that.
God.
Yeah.
What a task to have to start the chopping.
Yeah.
Oh.
From what we can see, there are 8 slit pieces that have been made to make it smaller.
Yeah.
So I think what we're actually doing is bringing it back up to the size it used to be.
But this has happened for generations.
The last happened, we think, in 1911. There was some alteration done to it from when we opened it up, we saw.
It was very much a hands-on type of crown, this one, given that it was made in 1660 by some poor souls sitting in a very cold workshop.
Goodness me.
Possibly with daylight, more likely by candlelight.
Without specs.
Yeah,
Yes.
without specs in those days. How it's incredible engineering for the time,
And
really.
with plague and goodness knows what, and fires going on.
This may not be instantly recognisable.
Yes, that's imperial.
It is.
My grandfather must have had a very swelled head.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't, if it didn't have to be redone.
Redone for that, yeah. Or just or it higher, maybe higher up.
Yes, it's
As far as we can tell, it wasn't made smaller for her. So I assume that your grandfather had quite a head as well.
He did, I think. Because the really interesting thing is that little...
And that goes
ruby on the top.
I still have a feeling a plume went in it or something.
Correct.
That is the legend that Henry V had his plume on his helmet at the Battle of Agincourt.
It's so wonderful, that.
Yeah, it's an amazing piece of history, isn't it?
Yeah.
To prepare for Coronation Day, rehearsals have moved to Westminster Abbey.
So request, could it not touch the gilding?
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of business with robes on this side.
Fine, so I'll just stick to the original.
Please.
Happy. No, right.
So we're now at 3 days, I think, till the coronation. There have been so many different rehearsals. We started very small, just a small group rehearsing with the King and Queen, and that's now expanded to a kind of cast of thousands.
So this is the bit we've been constructing for the last week or so to enable the procession to come in without any steps onto the theatre. A rather beautiful carpet, and as you can see, they've done the mouldings from the choir stalls. So my name's Paul Bowman. I'm the Receiver General here, which is the equivalent of a Chief Executive of the Abbey. So you'll come up here, and today we're welcoming the Princess Royal.
It's changed from yesterday, Mum. Seating plan will probably change before Saturday, so don't let's worry about it, okay?
She's coming to check the route of her procession in, and then more importantly, the route of her procession out.
And at that stage, am I joining in the procession?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I think for everybody who took part, it had to come together. And it was no good somebody going, oh, I'm just turn up on the day and read the bits of paper. It's not going to work. Right, and the Samaria door is the one down there.
I'll show you. It's the one we came in fact, but I'll show you also the room where you can leave your cape, your cloak behind. Yeah.
Really want to see the route out, and I don't think it's ever worth taking somebody's word for it. The other thing is that you have to leave it late enough so that after the television cameras have appeared and put their wires down, that you can still get out the door you thought you were going to get out. You may know where you think you're going, but you know, by the time the television are finished, maybe not so easy.
I just remember walking into the Abbey, and in every corner there were people practicing various things. It was very well organised chaos.
The other arm.
Right, so we've got Louis here, Gunther back here, Freddie.
I keep calling it a wedding. It was extraordinary because it did feel like a wedding, and people kept referring to Annabelle as the bridesmaids, which we really didn't like very much. But it did sadly feel like a wedding because it was a family occasion. It was It was in a church. It was very serious, and yet it had a fun side to it.
That's on. How does it feel?
Because it's up on the thing.
Do you want us to move you forward?
No, we
take a
want
step
it to everybody. Somebody's got help.
Yes, no, we are. Okay.
Down the other side.
They've got it. Can you walk forward?
She has got a great twinkle, and it comes out very readily, and it puts people at their ease very quickly.
We had the whole rehearsal outside us last night. All night long. What?
The bands and
everything. 5 o'clock till 5. I feel like sort of something that's been put in a carriage.
Like a horse.
Yes.
So, as on the day, I think you'll be coming in straight
Coming in straight.
to Churchill.
Sorry.
And then you're going the north side.
So she knows when to be serious, and she knows when to wink at a bishop, but when not to, which I think is a rather endearing quality.
Oh yes, bishops. Sorry, should have called you.
Good morning, Your Majesty. Good morning, boys. Good morning.
The first train that the Queen comes in, the wonderful Victorian red silk velvet and ermine train, is quite heavy apart from anything.
We've got a rope at last.
Good. Does it feel comfortable, Matt?
Yeah. Keep up a little bit. Boys, putting it off there.
Okay.
So for those small boys, it was teaching them how to hold it properly, keeping it straight so that it didn't bunch up as she was walking along. And it didn't pull her backwards, because if they didn't keep to the right pace with her, she would be pulled backwards because it was on a sort of strapped sort of thing on her shoulders. So that took a bit of getting used to.
You look as if you're about to jump out of a plane with a parachute.
Yes, yes, well, we had a really good night because they had the whole rehearsal past our window.
Oh, so you've slept so well.
I slept so well.
Well, at least it's not the night before, I suppose.
Ahead of final rehearsals, the crown jewels have started to arrive at the Abbey.
Mark, can I just feel the weight of that thing? Thank you. That's easy. That's all I needed to do.
Do you lift this one as well?
There was a big debate about whether we should all be wearing gloves, and then it was decided that probably we were more at danger of dropping things if we were wearing gloves than without them. So, no gloves.
You can do it with 2 hands, yeah.
They're beautifully weighted.
Yes. Yeah.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
The Prince of Wales has a key role in the coronation.
Yes, of course. Wow, look at that food.
This is a chance for the Prince to support the King as he prepares for his big day.
I think what struck me particularly is how extraordinarily affectionate they are. They're clearly a very close family, you know, of all the generations. And in a sense, you felt you're part of a family occasion as well as, you know, a royal occasion and a national occasion.
Archbishop, good morning.
Good morning, Your Highness.
Very nice to see you.
It's very nice to see you. Oh, Your Royal Highness, how lovely to see you.
Very nice to see you too.
You're on now, sir, I think.
And I've got
It looks amazing, doesn't it?
Sorry.
It's out of this world. And Garter is going to lead you up there, sir.
So will you just walk? You'll just walk towards me, will you?
Yeah.
Walk towards you, nod, and you'll come up, and I will.
And just follow him. And if you ever get lost, sir, in this, you just look confident and bow.
One of the Prince of Wales' duties is to present the King with the stole royal. This garment, made of golden silk, symbolises the sacred nature of kingship.
So, Your Royal Highness, if you put the stole over the King's head,
Okay, and we will.
and then the bishops will make sure
We'll make sure it gets hooked on.
properly. We bring in the robe. So the robe goes on, and then, Your Royal Highness, if you come and fix the clasp.
She goes in there. into a little slot.
Done it.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. Let's try that again. It's quite a small catch. On the day, it's not going to go in. So that works.
You haven't got sausage fingers like mine.
No, well, I hope I get it in the right place.
You're conscious of the deep history of coronation rite. We have been doing it like this for 1,000 years. You're also aware that you are seeing a little glimpse of the future. Here is a future king. What is it like for him to watch this happen? He has to be aware that there will come a day when he too will be thinking about facing this challenge.
Receive the royal sceptre, the ensign of kingly power and justice.
I think we'd always known that His Majesty, all those years of Prince of Wales, how he was a man who felt things very deeply and very passionately, and always spoke very passionately, sometimes unsettling people because he did speak with such passion.
May the Spirit of the Lord who anointed Jesus at his baptism so anoint you this day, that you might exercise authority with wisdom and direct your counsels with grace, that by your service and ministry to all your people, justice and mercy may be seen in all the earth.
And seeing that close up, you realise that, yeah, this is a man who believes very deeply and passionately and really cares, really cares about things, and cares about people. So the fanfare begins. He wants to give of himself for the good of others.
I have a memory that is probably about as good as our spaniels. In other words, 0. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be amongst you and remain with you now and... No, that can't be right.
Always. You must have said this before.
I knew that.
Yes. Be with you and remain with you always. Amen. Amen. He gave me a nice smile, nodded his head, but that was a glitch.
So, the homage.
The homage is the moment when those present pledge their allegiance to the king.
So Your Royal Highness, step straight in and kneel.
I, William, Prince of Wales, pledge my loyalty to you, and faith and truth I will bear unto you, as your liege man of life and limb, so help me God.
I think the moment of the Prince of Wales kissing his father, the homage, it's a moment that a lot of people saw and kissed the king.
Do I stand up on here?
That really wonderful connection.
Yes. Wasn't it that side?
Your left side?
It is normally the left
normally
side.
left side? Your left cheek is better.
I mean, priceless. Do you want to hold them, take them back? I think at this point you might just leave them with the bishops. And then the bishops can place them on the shrine altar.
Right. Just take that drop.
So there will be a little pause there.
This thing gets quite heavy. Are you staying in a hotel?
Yes, we're staying in the Novotel straight opposite Lambeth Palace.
Oh, is he?
My wife's here as well.
Good. She's been to the country.
No. She's going to watch it on television.
It's so frustrating. We can't put other arms of it.
No.
Today's rehearsals are over.
You're not coming to the dress rehearsal?
I'm on Friday, actually. George and I are back here on Friday.
I'm here tomorrow.
You're here tomorrow?
Yes, here.
The King and Queen have only 2 more days to practice before the big day.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. See some of you again later. Or your stand-ins.
Much later, really.
Not much later.
Now only hours away, the anointing oil has arrived from Jerusalem.
Well, this is a moment.
Isn't it just? Yes, what an extraordinary few days. Seeing the
is.
Abbey come together has been absolutely marvellous.
I am stunned by the work
everyone here has done, and I've never seen it looking better.
I have the oil. So
Oh,
let me go
thank
and
you.
Get it. There we are.
Goodness
I know.
me.
Isn't it extraordinary? Yes.
Gosh, you could make a fortune selling that.
The king will be crowned monarch of the United Kingdom and 14 other independent nations, which are known as the Commonwealth Realms. To celebrate this bond, the king has invited the realms leaders to a pre-coronation lunch.
It's lovely, familiar faces.
Thank you for coming all the way. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event, and we've just had the death of Her late Majesty, and she did 70 years of exceptional service to the Commonwealth. And now she's being succeeded, and I think that he'll make a success of it.
It is very important that they're there and that they want to be there, they want to be part of it, is extremely important for the future of the Commonwealth.
Making me feel brilliant. He's a very charming person, a very warm and a very friendly person. I admire the way he communicates, he interacts with you. That, to me, speaks to the measure of our king.
With well-wishers filling the streets of London, His Majesty has one more important duty to fulfill.
Nice to meet you. Where do you come from?
The United States. Yes, sir. Yes, we did.
Special.
Special.
Very nice to see you. Lee. Oh, is that Lee? Hello, Lee. Come and say hi to you, Lee, when you're back over here, but I hope you get better soon.
Yeah, bless you.
Have a lovely day tomorrow, sir.
So much. You're very kind.
I'm from Germany.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Good luck for tomorrow.
You guys are coming on.
We are staying.
Are you kidding with this, guys?
Yeah.
It's amazing. So nice to see you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. All the way from Australia. Wonderful.
We were sort of picked up by coach outside my flat with outriders and everything at 6:30 in the morning. That seemed totally surreal, to sort of go through central London in a bus with all these various people. Some people dressed already for the service, some of us ready to be dressed. And then we arrived at Buckingham Palace, and it was like being in a play because literally walked in, makeup, hair, costume.
Right, I'm actually sorry. I know. Very straight. Together. Morning, Nick. Where is it?
But it wasn't until we were all ready that we actually all came together to see each other for the first time. She hadn't seen our dresses, she didn't know what we were going to look like, and we hadn't seen her dress. And that was a very special moment. That was when it was quite like a wedding. It was like, you know, it was the bridesmaids going to see the bride.
And just be careful of the
Yeah, you won't tread on my dress with that sort. It's going to be a proper
short steps.
Yeah. There we are, with all the lads. Yeah.
Staff might make you sorry.
England flag. So, should we go and get ourselves organised down there?
Come on, otherwise you get pulled over. Morning.
There was just a really exciting moment of just getting them into that carriage the first time, and then we knew we were off.
When I thought back of, you know, being 2 years old and watching the Queen's coronation, you know, on a tiny black and white television, and there goes this golden coach with my sister in it. I can't explain the feeling because it's so surreal and this cannot be happening. Yeah, it was quite a moment.
We were ready, and we were ready to go out and face literally the world. Yeah.
Going into the Abbey, I think I had that nervousness all the time. She's quite a bit smaller than I am. I'm feeling, oh my God, is she going to be all right?
We often remark upon how grateful we are that our schools did a lot of drama, and both of us spent time on stage. It's really good training. Apart from the fact it gives you a bit of confidence, but it teaches you about learning lines and making sure you do the rehearsals and understand what's involved. So you get it absolutely right.
The King took a profound interest in the coronation. There were a number of significant alterations.
Lord Kamal, representing British Muslims.
This time, other faiths were present in a way that was inconceivable in earlier coronations.
And next, Lord Patel, representing the Hindu community.
There was a diversity, there was an energy about the way we were offering back to the nation and the Commonwealth what kind of a community we are.
Presentation of regalia complete. The moment of crowning has arrived.
Yes, it's about the man born to be king being crowned, but actually how much it says about every life and every human destiny. For me, it was about the sort of the human destiny under God, sort of writ large, and with, you know, the most gorgeous jewels.
God save the King!
I, William, Prince of Wales, pledge my loyalty to you as your liege man of life and limb. So help me God.
The Prince was sort of touching the crown. I mean, the idea of that is, it is partly about a sort of pledge that I will help you wear the crown. And I think His Majesty sort of mouthed, "Thank you, William."
She was obviously incredibly nervous. She doesn't show it a lot, but I know her well enough. No, I'm not at all nervous, but of course she was. I mean, you know, this is the most extraordinary moment in your life, which the whole world is going to see.
There was quite a funny moment when I thought she was sort of slightly backing away from the crown, but I think that was just because she was worried that the Archbishop was going to tread on her dress, so she was just sort of pulling herself back.
I think he was very proud of her. And I think there was a sense of, I can't believe it, we've made it.
What we'll do, at an appropriate moment, we'll give them 3 cheers. And what I always do in the Navy is to throw my hand up on the right-hand side. 3 cheers for the King and the Queen. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hooray! Hip, hooray! That's what we do. Perfect. Okay. Now we'll have to wait.
Well, it was wonderful because everybody was in it's a sort of grand entrance hall. There's all the household. And everybody gave them 3 cheers.
3 cheers for the King and Queen. A bit.
Getting back to Buckingham Palace, what a relief. It's done and it's been brilliant. It will sort of, almost take your shoes off.
Well, ask any actor who comes off stage, having done a performance that they really put a lot into, is that kind of relief.
My new card.
And then to walk out to the terraces to see, I think it was 4,500 soldiers lined up in immaculate order.
3 cheers for His Majesty, the King, and Her Majesty, the Queen! Hip, hip! Hip, hip! Hip, hip!
He just loved that moment.
There was such an air of celebration. I mean, it's sort of cliche, but you could sort of feel the love. And then this extraordinary thing, which certainly we weren't expecting, being called out onto the balcony.
The King and the Queen will go out first, followed with the pages, followed by Your Royal Highnesses, the Waleses, and then the rest of the royal family.
Looking up the Mall, this amazing noise and the sea of faces and the cheering. I mean, it was mind-blowing. There's a wonderful shot just of the 2 of them. I mean, it makes me cry thinking of it. There they are.
With the coronation over, it's back to work for the royal household. But there are summer highlights, which everyone looks forward to.
I'm a coachman at the Royal Mews, and we're just preparing for day 3 of Royal Ascot. It's the first big event since the coronation. Today we're running 3 bay teams, that's 12 horses, with just a grey team in front for the King and the Queen. So in Windsor Great Park, the royal family get out of the cars and into the carriages. And then once all the guests are in the carriages, we'll be given a hats off and off we go.
Hello and welcome to Royal Ascot for day 3 here at the most famous racecourse on the planet.
Today is a poignant moment for the King. This is his first Royal Ascot without his mother. She was a passionate lover of racing.
The late Queen had a tremendous ability to understand the horse from when she was a princess, very young. She loved the breeding side of it and tried to develop a horse, as she once said, that can just run faster than someone else's. The King and the Queen have very much committed themselves to carry on the mantle which the late Queen set up for them to inherit.
The King has a horse running in one of the big races of the day.
All right, we're underway. The King George V Stakes, the 1 mile, 4 furlong race, and we've got some local interest in this. Desert Hero is owned by the King. It's going to be quite tough. Burglar is the favourite here, ridden by Frankie Dettori.
Champion jockey Frankie Dettori is racing against the King's horse.
And here comes the King's horse dashing through the middle. It could be a win for His Majesty the King. Yes, it is! Royal Ascot, very royal, as Desert Hero becomes the first winner for King Charles III and Queen Camilla.
He came from absolutely nowhere.
For the King and Queen to have got themselves a gold medal, I mean, it brought the house down. They had tears in their eyes in the box. They were so touched by it.
Well done. First Royal Ascot win. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, wasn't it? Come on, you
My house was tiny and I was looking at yours and he was weaving his way for it, but I couldn't really tell if it won or not. But when I heard the cheers, it is definitely one. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Never thought you could get through all that.
And how close was it? Brilliant. Brilliant. How amazing. First year, boom, winner. Right?
Yeah. My late mama won this race in 1955.
Oh my God.
So she would have been so thrilled.
I know. I think she'd be more thrilled for you to be here for 5 days straight.
Oh, I don't think I could do another winner. It would be too much.
I think we should make our way to the paddock.
Better go, come on.
Before I miss my ride.
Yeah, all right.
Of course, we're all waiting for Frankie Dettori to see if he might get a win as well, because it's his final Royal Ascot.
Courage Mon Ami is 6-1 at the moment, so Frankie Dettori with a chance.
We've had a King winning, so we now want a Frankie winner. That would just top the day off.
Yeah, not out the question. So they're heading down the hill. Keep an eye on Courage Mon Ami, who's coming well. Frankie Dettori, this could be his crowning glory at Royal Ascot. We've got Coltrane, the local horse, up against Courage Mon Ami into the final furlong. They're neck and neck. Frankie Dettori slides ahead. Courage Mon Ami takes over the running, and it's Courage Mon Ami and Frankie Dettori, his crowning glory at Royal Ascot, a 9th Gold Cup win. Who writes that man's script?
This is a double whammy. We've got the King presenting the trophy to Frankie Dettori. Incredible scenes down here.
I think Queen Elizabeth would be very proud of her son, King Charles, that he's had his first winner, that he's supporting what she loved for so many years, horse racing. He's really took Royal Ascot on board and he's enjoyed the whole package, and may long continue.
It's late summer, and the countryside is in bloom. The King is enjoying one of his passions, nature. Today, he's visiting a stretch of coastline, which is being named in his honour.
We're at one of England's 220 national nature reserves. This one was first established in 1968. But right now, Natural England is working with partners to make this reserve much, much bigger, to make a super national nature reserve covering more than 30 square kilometres. Because what we're in the process of doing in England at the moment is moving beyond what we used to call conservation and moving into a period of nature recovery. So this is a new generation of national nature reserves, and that new generation we're calling the Kings series.
Has it got better and better?
Well, this is dune grassland, and this habitat is fantastic for insects of all kinds, including butterflies, and also...
And a toad.
And here we are, look. Here we are. Now, this is a very rare species, you'll be aware. Natterjack toe with a yellow stripe.
They were originally found in quite a lot of Lincolnshire, in the fenland as well as along the coast. And now we just have the one population in Lincolnshire.
Because of the loss of their habitat, presumably.
Yes.
But we've had a really good success story. The population is booming at the moment.
One of the things about King Charles's contribution on the environmental side is that not only has he got enormous depth to what he thinks and says about all of this, but also enormous longevity on his contribution, of course.
We are faced at the moment with the horrifying effects of pollution in all its cancerous forms.
Right now, up to 15 million people are at risk in the dry lands of Africa. The conclusion I draw is that the future of mankind can be assured only if we rediscover ways in which to live as part of nature, not apart from her.
He is, I think, possibly the most significant environmentalist the world has seen, given that he's been doing this for 50 years, and he's been ahead of the curve on pretty much every single subject.
It's rather wonderful to see quite so many butterflies at the moment, suddenly.
You've timed your visit very well. The sun's just come out. We've got some butterflies at the front.
Well
Do you want to go through them?
Yeah, sure. We had the Essex skipper in the front.
An Essex skipper.
Which is lovely.
Yeah.
And we know it's an Essex skipper because of the antennas. Would you like to release one?
I'd simply love to.
Of course.
Which one?
We have a gatekeeper, if you'd like to release.
Right.
Just simply open, just turn the top.
Yes.
And do...
Yeah, I imagine with the sun out, it'd be quite keen to fly away.
Yes.
From
Here we go, lovely.
I think his motivation comes from his love of nature, his continuing interactions with nature, and the fact that we still can make a difference if we wish to. In England, there's no really, truly wild habitat left. So we do have to intervene and we do need to manage in order to hang on to these wonderful species of animals and plants that we have here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with this.
Yeah.
But of course, half the thing has been the combination of man and nature over all these generations, which produce so many of the fascinating habitats and species that have come. And it's how to maintain that sort of relationship seems to me the important thing.
Like all environmentalists, the King, I think, is an optimist. Considering the effort that he still puts in to trying to get people to come together and think about solutions, you have to be an optimist to want to invest the time in that kind of process. So I think we need to wander down, Your Majesty.
Right. It's rather wonderful to see that sea lavender, isn't it?
It's lovely, isn't it?
Just a short moment when you can see it.
Exactly. Yeah. And up here, look, we just have a kestrel to wave us farewell as we walk down.
Those keen eyes.
The King and Queen's first year is nearing its end, and the pace has been unrelenting. It's September, and the King and Queen have returned to Balmoral to recharge their batteries.
I think Scotland is where they both relax. He's been there all his life for long summer holidays, and I think she has really grown to love it.
Officially, this is royal downtime.
Yeah.
But for the King, the day job continues.
Mr. Good morning.
Good
Morning, sir. Yes. Another day, another box.
The Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Exactly. So the red boxes come in pretty much every day of the year, except Christmas Day and Easter Monday. It is quite an interesting crop today, which is handy. Yeah. They contain all of the documents that the King's going to have to look at, be they from the government, from the church, from the military. Foreign Secretary asks if Your Majesty would send a message to the King of Sweden, who's, can you believe it's his Golden Jubilee in the middle of this month.
Oh, great. Is this in Swedish?
Yes, James.
Splendid. So I hope that's right. Is it the Swedish?
Is it? Well, it is.
Yeah, right. You never know if somebody's fed you something frightful to say.
That would be very...
You've no idea that you've done it. Right, no, exactly.
So the King is an incredibly hard worker. I think that's one of the things that pretty much everybody knows about him. He works till very late at night, often well beyond midnight.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Then we move on to the Ministry of Defence. And of course, after 50 years as Prince of Wales, he's developed huge experience and expertise in an incredibly wide range of issues and interests.
It's always quite fun looking through to see if I can find names, you know, which remind me of people I served with.
Yes.
In the Navy who may have sons. I mean, I did find one last year.
Oh.
So that's interesting, that name.
Yes.
Because he'd been a commanding officer of a mine hunter at the same time as I had.
Gosh,
and when I asked, and it was true, it was his son who'd become an admiral.
It was his son?
It shows how long ago. Anyway, so I wrote to my old friend and said, I'm so glad to have discovered it.
Challenge as always with these things, which we
not to put your
big
finger on,
exactly.
Which has happened.
It has indeed, sir. It has indeed.
It's a tradition that every September, the monarch invites some special guests to Balmoral.
Prime Minister, how are you?
Good evening, Majesty. Very nice to see you again. Good evening, Your Majesty.
Hello.
Hello. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you for having us.
How were the games?
They were splendid.
Yeah.
At least it was reasonably dry.
It is not, my usual weekly audience. It's a group of friends, family, invited guests who are staying for a weekend. Lots of dinners, lunches, lots of walks. Fantastic. And lots of eating. I mean, a lot of food. Anyway, figure out how to work up an appetite in the next couple of hours before dinner.
God, I'm sorry about that. I'm going to send you out for a run.
Right, that's what Johnny was saying. But it's such a nice evening, actually. I think it's been an incredibly successful year. I mean, I've had the pleasure and the privilege of spending time with him over that year. And I've just seen him do it in his own way, as, of course, he should do, and do it brilliantly.
I just love the way all the sun comes through the containers.
Yeah, it's marvellous, isn't it?
What's this one here?
Which one?
They are an extraordinary team, and I think it's whether they've sort of had to fight to get there or whether it's just because they've been through a lot together, and it's made them have a really strong bond.
Where's your ball, Beth? There. Oh, don't leave it.
They're all busily eating grass. What are you doing?
No, she loves eating grass. I think it's her greens for the day.
They're both huge walkers, very fit, both of them.
She's so well exercised.
Her with her mad dogs.
The last time she was in here, she found a mouse.
I know she...
And the whole lot. Horrible little creatures. Reappeared a bit later.
She is his rock. And I can't actually emphasize that enough. She's somebody who is completely loyal, and she isn't somebody who has huge highs and lows. he brings to her everything. I'm not talking about all of this, but, you know, he has such a knowledge and interest in so many different things which she wouldn't really have been open to if she hadn't met him.
It's lovely to buds on that bridge. Every child, when it comes here, they rush there and buds out on the bridge for hours.
You can't get it to come.
You know, they're yin and yang, really. They really are polar opposites, but I think it works brilliantly. Most of us, as we get to this sort of age, are thinking, yes, quiet times, but theirs is just gonna go like that, isn't it?
Gasotiki ni aya naria kai kai kau Amisa moyo kalitamato Pute kire wasu Waku waku onasera Mogeguyo nakimochi Wea wea yamigabu Sekai watakai Kedo tayonan ka na Mabu sikigute Yami no hoga sumato.
But actually how much it says about every life and every human destiny. For me, it was about the sort of the human destiny under God, sort of writ large. And with, you know, the most gorgeous jewels.
God save the King!
I, William, Prince of Wales, pledge my loyalty to you as your liege man of life and limb. So help me God.
The Prince was sort of touching the crown. I mean, the idea of that is, it is partly about a sort of pledge that I will help you wear the crown. And I think His Majesty sort of mouthed, "Thank you, William."
She was obviously incredibly nervous. She doesn't show it a lot, but I know her well enough. No, I'm not at all nervous, but of course she was. I mean, you know, this is the most extraordinary moment in your life, which the whole world is going to see.
There was quite a funny moment when I thought she was sort of slightly backing away from the crown, but I think that was just because she was worried that the Archbishop was going to tread on her dress, so she was just sort of pulling herself back.
I think he was very proud of her. And I think there was a sense of, I can't believe it, we've made it.
What we'll do, at an appropriate moment, we'll give them 3 cheers. And what I always do in the Navy is to throw my hand up in the right-hand side. 3 cheers for the King and the Queen. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hooray! Hip, hooray! That's what we do. Perfect. Okay. Now we'll have to wait.
It was wonderful because everybody was in the, it's a sort of grand entrance hall. There's all the household. And everybody gave them 3 cheers.
3 cheers for the King and Queen. Then,
Getting back to Buckingham Palace, what a relief. It's done and it's been brilliant. It was sort of almost take your shoes off.
well, ask any actor who comes off stage, having done a performance that they really put a lot into, is that kind of relief.
And then to walk out to the terraces to see, I think it was 4,500 soldiers lined up in immaculate order.
3 cheers for His Majesty, the King, and Her Majesty, the Queen! Hip, hip! Hip, hip! Hip, hip!
He just loved that moment.
There was such an air of celebration. I mean, it's all sort of cliche, but you could sort of feel the love. And then this extraordinary thing, which certainly we weren't expecting, being called out onto the balcony.
The King and the Queen will go out first, followed with the pages, followed by Your Royal Highnesses, the Waleses, and then the rest of the royal family.
Looking up the Mall, this amazing noise and the sea of faces and the cheering, I mean, it was mind-blowing. There's a wonderful shot just of the 2 of them. I mean, it makes me cry thinking of it. There they are.
With the coronation over, it's back to work for the royal household. But there are summer highlights, which everyone looks forward to.
I'm a coachman at the Royal Mews, and we're just preparing for day 3 of Royal Ascot. It's the first big event since the coronation. Today we're running 3 bay teams, that's 12 horses, with just a grey team in front for the King and the Queen. So in Windsor Great Park, the royal family get out of the cars and into the carriages. And then once all the guests are in the carriages, we'll be given a hats off and off we go.
Hello and welcome to Royal Ascot for day 3 here at the most famous racecourse on the planet.
Today is a poignant moment for the King. This is his first Royal Ascot without his mother. She was a passionate lover of racing.
The late Queen had a tremendous ability to understand the horse from when she was a princess, very young. She loved the breeding side of it and tried to develop a horse, as she once said, that can just run faster than someone else's. The King and the Queen have very much committed themselves to carry on the mantle which the late Queen set up for them to inherit.
The King has a horse running in one of the big races of the day.
All right, we're underway. The King George V Stakes, the 1 mile, 4 furlong race, and we've got some local interest in this. Desert Hero is owned by the King. It's going to be quite tough. Burglar is the favourite here, ridden by Frankie Dettori.
Champion jockey Frankie Dettori is racing against the King's horse.
And here comes the King's horse dashing through the middle. It could be a win for His Majesty the King. Yes, it is! Royal Ascot, very royal, as Desert Hero becomes the first winner for King Charles III and Queen Camilla.
He came from absolutely nowhere.
For the King and Queen to have got themselves a gold medal, I mean, it brought the house down. They had tears in their eyes in the box. They were so touched by it.
Well done. First Royal Ascot win. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, wasn't it? Come on,
We'll go ready, so we'll have to do it well.
My house was tiny and I was looking at yours and he was weaving his way for it, but I couldn't really tell if it won or not. But when I heard the cheers, it is definitely one. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Never thought you could get through all that.
And how close was it? Brilliant. Brilliant. How amazing. First year, boom, winner. Right?
Yep. My late mama won this race in 1955.
Oh my God.
So she would have been so thrilled.
I know. I think she'd be more thrilled for you to be here for 5 days straight.
Oh, I don't think I could do another winner. It would be too much.
I think we should make our way to the paddock.
Better go, come on.
Before I miss my ride.
Yeah, all right.
Of course, we're all waiting for Frankie Dettori to see if he might get a win as well, because it's his final Royal Ascot.
Courage Mon Ami is 6-1 at the moment, so Frankie Dettori with a chance.
We've had a King winning, so we now want a Frankie winner. That would just top the day off.
Yeah, not out the question. So they're heading down the hill. Keep an eye on Courage Mon Ami, who's coming well. Frankie Dettori, this could be his crowning glory at Royal Ascot. We've got Coltrane, the local horse, up against Courage Mon Ami into the final furlong. They're neck and neck. Frankie Dettori slides ahead. Courage Mon Ami takes over the running, and it's Courage Mon Ami and Frankie Dettori, his crowning glory at Royal Ascot, a 9th Gold Cup win. Who writes that man's script?
This is a double whammy. We've got the King presenting the trophy to Frankie Dettori. Incredible scenes down here.
I think Queen Elizabeth would be very proud of her son, King Charles, that he's had his first winner, that he's supporting what she loved for so many years, horse racing. He's really took Royal Ascot on board and he's enjoyed the whole package, and may long continue.
It's late summer and the countryside is in bloom. The King is enjoying one of his passions, nature. Today, he's visiting a stretch of coastline which is being named in his honour.
We're at one of England's 220 national nature reserves. This one was first established in 1968. But right now, Natural England is working with partners to make this reserve much, much bigger, to make a super national nature reserve covering more than 30 square kilometres. because what we're in the process of doing in England at the moment is moving beyond what we used to call conservation and moving into a period of nature recovery. So this is a new generation of national nature reserves, and that new generation we're calling the Kings series.
Has it got better and better?
Well, this is dune grassland, and this habitat is fantastic for insects of all kinds, including butterflies, and also...
And a toad.
And here we are, look. Here we are. Now, this is a very rare species, you'll be aware. Natterjack toe with a yellow stripe.
They were originally found in quite a lot of Lincolnshire, in the Fenland as well as along the coast. And now we just have the one population in Lincolnshire.
Because of the loss of their habitat, presumably?
Yes.
But we've had a really good success story. The population is booming at the moment.
One of the things about King Charles's contribution on the environmental side is that not only has he got enormous depth to what he thinks and says about all of this, but also enormous longevity on his contribution, of course.
We are faced at the moment with the horrifying effects of pollution in all its cancerous forms.
Right now, up to 15 million people are at risk in the dry lands of Africa. The conclusion I draw is that the future of mankind can be assured only if we rediscover ways in which to live as part of nature, not apart from her.
He is, I think, possibly the most significant environmentalist the world has seen, given that he's been doing this for 50 years, and he's been ahead of the curve on pretty much every single subject.
It's rather wonderful to see quite so many butterflies at the moment,
Yes.
suddenly.
You've timed your visit very well. The sun's just come out. We've got some butterflies at the front.
well
Do you want me to go through them?
Yeah, sure. We had the Essex skipper in the front,
an Essex skipper.
which is lovely.
Mm.
And we know it's an Essex skipper because of the antennas. Would you
Look
like
at
to
that.
release one?
I'd simply love to.
Of course.
Which one?
We have a gatekeeper, if you'd like to release.
Right.
Just simply open, just turn the top.
Yes.
And do...
Yeah, I imagine with the sun out, it'd be quite keen to fly away.
Yeah.
There he
There
goes.
we go, lovely.
I think his motivation comes from his love of nature, his continuing interactions with nature, and the fact that we still can make a difference if we wish to. In England, there's no really, truly wild habitat left. So we do have to intervene and we do need to manage in order to hang on to these wonderful species of animals and plants that we have here.
I couldn't agree more. Yes.
Yeah.
But of course, half the thing has been the combination of man and nature over all these generations, which produce so many of the fascinating habitats and species that have come. And it's how to maintain that sort of relationship seems to me the important thing.
Like all environmentalists, the King, I think, is an optimist. Considering the effort that he still puts in to trying to get people to come together and think about solutions, you have to be an optimist to want to invest the time in that kind of process. So I think we need to wander down, Your Majesty.
Right. It's rather wonderful to see that sea lavender, isn't it? at the
It's lovely, isn't it?
Just a short moment when you can see it.
Exactly. Yeah. And up here, look, we just have a kestrel to wave us farewell as we walk down.
Those keen eyes.
The King and Queen's first year is nearing its end, and the pace has been unrelenting. It's September, and the King and Queen have returned to Balmoral to recharge their batteries.
I think Scotland is where they both relax. He's been there all his life for long summer holidays, and I think she has really grown to love it.
Officially, this is royal downtime.
Yeah.
But for the King, the day job continues.
Mr. Good morning.
Good
Morning, sir. Yes. Another day, another box.
Like the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Exactly. So the red boxes come in pretty much every day of the year, except Christmas Day and Easter Monday. It is quite an interesting crop today, which is handy. Yeah. They contain all of the documents that the King's going to have to look at, be they from the government, from the church, from the military. Foreign Secretary asks if Your Majesty would send a message to the King of Sweden, who's, can you believe it's his golden jubilee in the middle of this month.
Oh, great. Is this in Swedish?
Yes, James.
Splendid. So I hope that's right. Is it the Swedish?
Is it? Well, it is.
Yeah, right. You never know if somebody's fed you something frightful to say.
That would be very...
You've no idea that you've done it. I know exactly.
So the King is an incredibly hard worker. I think that's one of the things that pretty much everybody knows about him. He works till very late at night, often well beyond midnight.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Then we move on to the Ministry of Defence. And of course, after 50 years as Prince of Wales, he's developed huge experience and expertise in an incredibly wide range of issues and interests.
It's always quite fun looking through to see if I can find names, you know, which remind me of people I served with.
Yes.
In the Navy who may have sons. I mean, I did find one last year.
Oh.
So that's interesting, that name.
Yes.
Because he'd been a commanding officer of a mine hunter at the same time as I had.
Gosh,
and when I asked, and it was true, it was his son who'd become an admiral.
It was his son?
Just shows how long ago. Anyway, so I wrote to my old friend and said that I'm so glad to have discovered it.
Challenge as always with these things to make sure we don't
not to put your
great
finger on it.
Exactly.
Which has happened.
It has indeed, sir. It has indeed.
It's a tradition that every September, the monarch invites some special guests to Balmoral.
Oh, Prime Minister, how are you?
Good evening, Your Majesty. Very nice to see you again. Good evening, Your Majesty.
Hello. Hello. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you for having us.
How were the games?
Oh, they were splendid.
Yeah.
At least
it
was reasonably dry.
It is not, my usual weekly audience. It's a group of friends, family, invited guests who are staying for a weekend. Lots of dinners, lunches, lots of walks.
Fantastic.
And lots of eating. I mean, a lot of food.
Anyway, figure out how to work up an appetite in the next couple of hours before dinner.
God, I'm sorry about that. I'm going to send you out for a run.
Right, that's what Johnny was saying, but such a nice evening, actually.
I think it's been an incredibly successful year. I mean, I've had the pleasure and the privilege of spending time with him over that year, and I've just seen him do it in his own way, as, of course, he should do, and do it brilliantly.
I just love the way all the sun comes through the curtains.
Yeah, it's marvellous, isn't it?
What's this one here?
Which one?
They are an extraordinary team, and I think it's whether they've sort of had to fight to get there or whether it's just because they've been through a lot together, and it's made them have a really strong bond.
Where's your ball, Beth? There. Oh, don't leave it.
They're all busy eating grass. What are you doing?
No, she loves eating grass. I think it's so green for the day.
They're both huge walkers, very fit, both of them.
So well exercised.
Her with her mad dogs.
The last time she was in here, she found
I know.
a mouse.
I know she...
And the whole lot. Horrible little creatures.
Exactly.
Reappeared a bit later.
She is his rock. And I can't actually emphasize that enough. She's somebody who is completely loyal, and she isn't somebody who has huge highs and lows. he brings to her everything. I'm not talking about all of this, but, you know, he has such a knowledge and interest in so many different things which she wouldn't really have been open to if she hadn't met him.
It's lovely to buds on that bridge. Every child, when it comes here, they rush there and our buds out on the bridge for hours.
You can't get it to come.
You know, they're yin and yang, really. They really are polar opposites, but I think it works brilliantly. Most of us, as we get to this sort of age, are thinking, yes, quiet times, but theirs is just going to go like that, isn't it?
Queen Margrethe II of Denmark. Monarch, artist, style icon.
It's not just normal glamour. It's something fairy tale-like or mad.
Astonishingly educated, creative, charismatic.
And she's quite clearly way far and beyond the most intelligent of all those monarchs in Europe.
Born one of 3 girls, she was not destined for the throne.
The expectation was male inheritance. Her mother and father were never to have a son, and the throne would therefore pass to her uncle.
Nazi Germany occupied Denmark during World War II. Margrethe was a beacon of hope for a new future.
The royal family was very much ashamed about Denmark because we could not take up the fight with the Germans at the time.
She was a light in a dark time.
The first Danish monarch in centuries to marry a commoner.
It was pretty much claps of thunder when she saw him. It was a love match.
A queen that did it her way. She's challenged the status quo and changed what it means to be a modern monarch.
She found this safe haven where she can develop herself as an artist and at the same time fulfilling her job as a regent.
On New Year's Eve, Queen Margrethe shocked the Danish people by announcing her decision to abdicate on live television. Her son, Crown Prince Frederik, will now be king, bringing an end to Queen Margrethe's 52-year reign. Since 1972, Margrethe II of Denmark has reigned.
She is a rather eccentric, charismatic, colourful, stylish, passionate and artistic woman.
With its laid-back lifestyle, Denmark is often said to be one of the happiest places in the world to live.
We're very equal in Denmark. Our education is for free. They all have a place to live. They all get money from the government. I mean, you have so many benefits in Denmark.
The Danish royal court reflects that relaxed atmosphere.
Well, Denmark is much more informal than Britain. Queen Margrethe can walk around in the streets of Copenhagen quite informally if she wants to.
Well, I've known the Queen since I was a child because my parents are good friends with the royal family. She's accessible. People feel they're close to the Queen. And I think that's a huge difference from some other countries where it's a very long way to get close to the Queen.
Margrethe has made the monarchy her own, but as a child contemplating her future as a ruler, she looked to her third cousin in Britain for inspiration.
Ahead of Queen Elizabeth's Diamond Jubilee in 2012, Queen Margrethe gave an interview where she said that as a young child, she had been so impressed when she had heard the Queen's speech from South Africa when she turned 21.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong.
This gave Queen Margareta a set of guidelines with which she herself could seek to rule.
I've always admired her, and I think she's inspired me in one particular thing, right from the start, when even before she was queen, when she talked about dedicating herself to her nation. And I remember thinking when I was quite young, long before I was, my father died, that was really what it is all about.
The two queens were good friends. Queen Elizabeth II awarded Margareta the Order of the Garter and a Dame Grand Cross, the highest rank of the Royal Victorian Order. Henning Fyhl has been Queen Margaretas private secretary for years.
Der er jo meget tætte forbindelser mellem de to kongehuse, og det skyldes jo selvfølgelig først og fremmest, at der er meget tætte familiemæssige bånd imellem det engelske kongehus og det danske kongehus. Dronningen har den tradition igennem mange, mange år, at dronningen meget, meget fast i London, i hvert fald en gang om året.
There have been state visits to and from on several occasions. Our Queen, of course, went to Denmark when King Frederick was there in 1957. He had come on a state visit in 1951. Queen Margrethe came on her first state visit in 1974.
In this rarely seen footage of the 1974 state visit, Queen Margareta enjoys the pomp and pageantry of the British court. Queen Margareta has been a proud head of state in Denmark, but she wanted to be more than a monarch. She had her own ideas of the kind of queen she should be. It was unlike any other.
It became important to her to make sure to have time to develop her own creativity. So she spent time painting and drawing and designing, and as well as taking care of matters of state.
Margareta is prolific as an artist. I mean, she's an incredible kind of polymath of both being an intellectual but also this kind of passionate artist.
The modern monarch's talents extended from paintings to the stage and to the screen.
She does both drawings and paintings and decoupage, but also scenography and costumes for ballet and textile production for the church.
Everything is a canvas for the creative queen. Even when she's at lunch with friends, things can get a bit competitive.
There have been occasions where we have been together painting Easter eggs, and sitting here with my pen, trying to do it nicely and everything, and the queen is just like painting and painting and painting and put them up here and there and everywhere, and I get my one done, and I gave up while the queen is making this mass production of eggs, and they're really good. She's really good. It's such a joy.
Queen Margareta has always been creative. It's been something she's enjoyed since she was a young girl. But at first, a lack of confidence meant she kept her work to herself.
You know, the Queen comes across as such an articulate and confident and charismatic individual, but she wasn't always like that. And in interviews, you know, she has confessed that she doubted her own abilities.
It was quite a long time, from when I was about 17, 18 until I was nearly 30, where I didn't really believe that the talent I might have was really worth that much. But then I found that when I was about 30, I simply couldn't keep it. I just had to express myself in paintings and things.
She's always been drawing. It's just like she never stopped. She would read Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings out loud to her children, and she would start drawing this mythical universe to herself. But then you also sense that she actually wants to share it with the world, so she sent the drawings to Tolkien. And after his death, they found these drawings, and they had his positive remarks on them. And so they chose to publish The Lord of the Rings with the Queen's illustrations.
As her confidence grew, Margareta decided she was ready to share her work. The Danish public would discover their queen's artistic side.
When she did her first public exhibition in 1988, there was a bit skepticism from the press. So no, they were a bit, how can you be both a queen and an artist?
It's easy to make that criticism, and she realizes it will come. And God bless her, she barges sort of ahead.
In celebration of the 40th anniversary of the reign of Queen Margrethe, an exhibition of her art was staged, consisting of 135 acrylic and watercolour paintings and decoupage. She spoke of how important art was to her.
It's an enormous satisfaction to be doing something that you really like doing. And it's also a way of, sort of recharging my batteries.
Over the years, I think most Danes just gotten used to it.
What we see today is a full-grown artist displaying in different exhibitions her artworks, and is looked upon as a true artist.
The AROS Aarhus Art Museum proudly displays the Queen's artwork.
So here we have one of Her Majesty the Queen's paintings. It's from our own collection, and it's called Park Avenue, Fredensborg. And as you can see, it's not a completely naturalistic painting. It has this level of abstraction. We can see these larger fields of colors or geometric forms, these squares and straight lines.
The Queen's creativity extends beyond the canvas. But Margrethe faced criticism from some, who suggested that she was taking jobs in the art world other Danes could do.
She has worked very hard to put quality into what she's doing, and I think deserves the respect for what she actually has produced.
It's not as if she's in the job market, is she? I mean, she's invited occasionally to undertake certain commissions for the ballet, for the theatre, and she, by her actions, does so much to raise the public profile of these, cultural institutions.
I don't think she's taking anything away, and I bet you that after she's done it, it's inspired lots of youngsters.
The Queen's openness is a trait she's loved for. In 2022, her Golden Jubilee was celebrated across the country, and the Queen gave an intimate look into her life when she exhibited her private jewellery collection.
What I wanted to tell is a story of 50 years of reign. I had a talk with the Queen about the different pieces of jewellery and also the stories behind them. The pieces of jewellery tells a very strong story about how the Queen uses jewellery to send a message.
The exhibition, called A Queen's Jewellery Box, tells the personal life of a monarch from a different perspective.
It's not very flashy, somehow. It's very subtle. But I mean, it used to belong to Catherine the Great, and it just, again, beautiful diamonds in the middle of those flowers with turquoise. But it's not all about diamonds and turquoise and rubies. It's kind of also a pair of favorite earrings belonging to the Queen. And they have this beautiful, beautiful blue color. They are made of plastic. They probably have cost the Queen £20. She bought them in a small shop near her summer residence. They tell a story about a queen where diamonds are not the important thing. I love those earrings because of that story.
The unique blend of heritage and informality in her jewellery is also reflected in the way Queen Margrethe II has changed what it means to be a monarch in a rapidly changing modern world. Now she's abdicating after more than half a century on the throne. What will her legacy be? Queen Margrethe II has reigned over Denmark during a long period of peace and stability. It's a far cry from the chaotic state of her country in her early years. Born on the 16th of April 1940, Margrethe Alexandrine Thorhilde Ingrid was a welcome distraction for the Danish people. The country was at war.
Our queen, she was born in 1940, which is a very dark time in the Danish history because of the Second World War. She was a light in a dark time.
That was only a week after the Germans had occupied Denmark.
On the morning of the 9th of April 1940, Denmark was attacked by Germany. After only a few hours, the government surrendered. Denmark became an occupied country, controlled by Nazi Germany.
When she grew elder, she had a lot of conversation with her parents about that very dark period of time in Denmark. Actually, the royal family was very much ashamed about Denmark because we could not take up the fight with the Germans at the time.
Like the British monarchy, the Danish royal family remained in their country throughout the war. On May the 4th, 1945, Denmark was liberated from German occupation. Margrethe was 5. The daughter of Crown Prince Frederik and Princess Ingrid, known to her family as Daisy, Margrethe was the eldest of 3 girls. They lived a happy life in Amalienborg Palace in the Danish capital, Copenhagen.
Of course, Queen Margrethe, she was growing up in a royal family, and that goes without saying that this is different from other families. But I would add that in many aspects, it was a quite normal family life.
She has 2 younger sisters, Princess Benedict and Anne-Marie. They're a very, very close-knit family.
As a child, Margrethe was not expected to become the country's monarch.
Up until the age of 13, a little bit like Queen Elizabeth II, she didn't realize that she was going to be queen, and then she had to accept that responsibility.
She certainly wasn't destined to be queen. The expectation was primogeniture, male inheritance. The expectation was that the throne would therefore pass to her uncle.
Prince Canute, he just wasn't up to it, and so they changed the succession, which didn't please the brother very much, in order to make her heir to the throne.
I think there was an impression that the other part of the family were not able to do the job, to put it quite frankly.
The 1953 Act of Succession brought about a change in the law that meant in the absence of a male heir, the king's daughter would inherit the throne.
They believed that would be the right thing to do. It was quite dramatic, and also it has been, I think, quite traumatic for the royal family.
Margarethe's uncle, who had been really looking forward to taking over, was suddenly without a job, and he was furious that suddenly this 13-year-old was looking at her own role in life as a future queen.
To mark the occasion, Margrethe's father gave her a small gift.
It's not big, has a few rubies in it, but I think what is most important about this piece is what it symbolizes, Constitution. And horseshoe, of course, symbolizes good luck. So the king wanted to wish his daughter good luck with her future position.
The 13-year-old Margrethe now had to look to the future as the heir to the Danish throne. In a 2012 interview ahead of her Ruby Jubilee, Margrethe talks candidly about her family downplaying the fact that she would one day become queen.
They began to talk to me about it in the winter before, in 52, I think, when I was 12, but they didn't make a huge thing out of it. My father was immensely pleased that his child would take the succession.
When the Queen was asked years later about the moment she learned that she would be Queen, she confessed that the first thought that occurred to her was not that she would one day be wearing a lot of jewels and having a crown on her head, but that her beloved father would be dead for her to be Queen.
What it brought home to me was that I would lose my father one day. And that, I think, I remember as being the thing I really feared.
And I think that is so revealing and tells us so much about the love they shared as a family.
She was going to be Queen, and her training was very intense from that time on. She was carefully prepared. Her parents thought it important that their daughters learn to dance, learn to ride, learn to comport themselves, to allow them to relax a bit and be in control of some things, because other things they were not in control of.
There was a lot of education she had to go through. She has to learn about international politics. She has to see the world. And she did all these things. And I think she really did all her best to prepare herself for her role.
In 1955, the young princess came to Britain to further her education. She attended North Foreland Lodge Girls' School in Hampshire. It was a welcome break for the teenager.
She was to become the Queen of Denmark. And being a teenager and having a carefree life where you don't have to think about the future in that way, it was good for her to go to a boarding school in England and be away for a little while.
She feels very, very close to the British people. And this year on the boarding school was important. I think she felt she was more independent.
On her return to Denmark, Margrethe continued with her secondary school education. 2 years later, in 1958, on her 18th birthday, Margrethe would make one of her first large-scale public appearances. The reticent princess was thrust into the limelight.
She started out as a rather shy girl in her teenage years. It wasn't that easy for her to learn to perform. She explained once that the first time, I think maybe her 18th birthday, when she would be acclaimed on the balcony, she felt a little nervous about that.
And that was one of the first time where she really should meet the public. She was really a nerve-wreck. She was extremely nervous. She got a wonderful advice from her own father, the king, because he tried to explain her, there's nothing to be afraid of. You know, all the people here, they are here to say hello. And then he showed her simply with his own arms, you know, do like this. Show the people that you take all their love and affection, and it really goes to your heart. And if you take a look on some of the old films from that period and from that specific day, you can see the Queen, she's trying to do that. It's a bit hard for her, but she's trying.
From then on, Margrethe would begin to step up her preparations for one day becoming Denmark's monarch. She was given a seat on the Council of State. She would chair the meetings in the absence of her father, the king. She also joined Denmark's Women's Flying Corps, where she served as a volunteer.
This is not very well known, but she actually took part of the Danish defense organization, and she has told me that if she had been a boy, she would definitely have been a soldier, and she would have done even more than she did at the time.
Aged 19, Margrethe graduated high school in 1959. A highly intelligent woman, alongside her native Danish, she speaks English, French, German, Swedish, and a pinch of Faroese for good measure. The multilingual princess's skills allowed her to study in universities all over Europe. It was quite a list of achievements.
She studied at 5 universities: Philosophy and Administration and Constitutional Law in Copenhagen, International Law and Archaeology at Cambridge, Civics at Denmark's second most famous university, French and Jurisprudence at the Sorbonne in Paris, and Sociology at the London School of Economics.
While the future queen was dedicated to her studies, her friends were marrying and starting families. The princess began to wonder if she too would find her happily ever after.
I think it's almost heartbreaking, actually, because there were some years that she actually feared that she would never be able to find a husband, because she was speculating and she was thinking, you know, which man would actually go into this life, and also which man would like to be a step behind me. So she was afraid that she was not able to find a partner.
In 1965, Margrethe returned to England to continue her studies at the prestigious London School of Economics. While there, she met a charming French diplomat, Henri de Laborde de Montpezat.
And then, of course, as we know, the miracle happened in 65, because she, in London, met Prince Henrik, and that was a completely change in her life.
She was in love with this wonderful, very good-looking French man. She was the first one to marry a commoner and still being able to seek the throne. But this is that was a modern world. We were getting into a modern world in the 60s.
Like his future wife, Henrik was creative. He thought about a career in the arts, but his family had other plans. He was conscripted into the French army and fought in the Algerian War between 1959 and 1962. After the war, he joined the French Foreign Service and moved to London.
He was very well educated. He has studied at the Sorbonne. He has experienced life in the, fighting in the Algerian War. He's a professional. He's a linguist. He's written poetry. He was a pianist. He loved cooking. He had a wide range of skills and interests.
It wasn't just a love match. It was a meeting of minds. But being a future head of state, the young couple could not simply decide to marry. They had to seek permission from not only her parents, but Parliament too.
She was absolutely sure that she wanted to go to her parents, and she simply told them, I have found the man I would like to marry. And then they met secretly, and the king and the queen said yes.
Their courtship, which went on for more than a year before the announcement of the engagement, was really kept under the radar. I mean, when the engagement was announced, it really did come as a shock to everybody.
In preparation for joining the Danish royal family, he changed his name from Henri to Henrik, converted to Lutheranism, and learned to speak Danish. The couple married on the 10th of June, 1967. The Queen's private jewellery collection reveals a special token given to her by her husband on their wedding day.
Those beautiful earrings with pearls and diamonds, those were her wedding present from her husband in 1967 when they got married. A pair of earrings that the Queen was also wearing on the day that she became a queen in 1972.
The wedding would be the start of a long and happy marriage.
They had quite a lot of fun in the early days of their marriage. There are lots of photographs of Margrethe and Prince Henrik dancing together in the south of France, having an amazing time one way and another. And then, of course, they had the two sons very soon afterwards.
Just 5 years into their marriage, their easygoing family lifestyle would change. Margrethe's father, King Frederick, suddenly fell ill.
She didn't think she was ready. I guess nobody's ready to lose a parent, but this also had other consequences for her.
January 1972, King Frederick IX of Denmark delivers his annual televised New Year's speech. His appearance caused the nation concern.
Gud bevare Danmark. It was quite clear to everyone that he looked very tired, very exhausted. And then the next day, the first day in the new year, Queen Ingrid, she called her daughter, Margrethe, and she told the daughter that, the king is very sick.
It was a sudden illness, a sudden decline, which ultimately saw him dying quite dramatically and quite suddenly, and therefore the throne was kind of thrust upon Marguerite.
She was devastated when he died. But at the same time, she had this feeling that her father wanted her to step up.
On the 14th of January 1972, Margrethe became queen.
Dronning Margrethe overtog tronen efter sin far, Frederik den 9. den 14. januar 1972. Hun var på det tidspunkt 31 år gammel.
The following day, Margrethe was proclaimed Denmark's monarch at the Christiansborg Palace.
I remember I was a child when King Frederik IX died and the Queen came out at the balcony in her black dress. It was very touching because she was fragile. She was young.
One of the differences between the Danish and the British monarchy is the fact there isn't a coronation. So there was no coronation for Margrethe. Instead, she was proclaimed queen and she appeared on the balcony, and it was a kind of declaration by her appearance. So much, much different than the coronation and the pomp and pageantry of the British monarchy.
While working on a book with the Queen about her gowns, author and textile conservator Katja Johansson noticed something unusual about the Queen's usually perfectly polished appearance.
I found some photographs taken from behind her on the balcony. Most people just saw her as a bit of a figure from far away, in black and with a long veil. And I asked, "What is this black gown that you're wearing?" And she said, "I didn't have anything to wear. We weren't prepared." So she borrowed a black dress that belonged to her mother. It didn't quite fit because she was already quite a bit taller than Queen Ingrid, and so it only sort of came down to her ankles. But imagine not being prepared in a house that's prepared for everything. But they managed it, and she did beautifully.
The scene was quite extraordinary because this was a bitter cold day in January. And it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the setting was the big Parliament building in the center of Copenhagen. And you will watch the balcony. The Prime Minister will enter the balcony together with the Queen, and there he will simply say to the public, "Here, the King is dead. This is our new Queen."
Now monarch, Margrethe started to settle into her new role. It would not be so simple for her husband. He struggled to find a place for himself within the new court. It would be problematic for the new queen, her government, and Prince Henrik himself.
There have been discussions in Denmark. Prince Henrik was not His Majesty, he was only Royal Highness. But I think at that time when the Queen became the Queen and Her Majesty, it was like the Danish government and the Danish royal family would look into England, like the Queen of England was married and her husband was a prince. And the same was happening in Holland. So they kind of adopted, I think, what they did in England.
While her husband found life difficult at court, Margrethe had her own struggle at home. Juggling monarchy and raising children wasn't easy.
She has several times expressed regret that she was not more aware of them when they were small, that she thinks she should have paid more attention to them. But I think one have to remember that she was a very young mother when she suddenly got queen and had this enormous burden and also responsibility put on her shoulders.
Her 2 small children was looked after by nannies and whatever was in the royal house. because she didn't have the time to be the mother. But this is how it is when you are born into a royal family. You know the rules, and the rules come before feelings. Denmark comes before family.
With the help of the royal household, Queen Margrethe created a happy home for her children. Her husband Henrik played a big part raising the two young princes.
In 1974, the Queen allows the cameras in for a documentary to film her at play with her children as she ran around with the two young boys, the family sitting down to a make-believe tea party. And I think what it reveals is that the closeness that the four of them shared.
Prince Henrik had a big impact on how the family life actually turned out. He was very good in keeping the family together, but the two of them together made them strong. You can see the results of today. You have a very well-working crown prince and a crown princess.
The Queen, being a perfectionist, has often claimed that she felt that she didn't give her children enough time. But I don't think she did too badly, given she has imparted her sense of duty and values to them.
The Queen is a very proud mother of two sons and two daughter-in-laws and a lot of grandchildren. They're all performing well. The Crown Prince and the Prince Joachim grew up in a family with love.
It's not just the easygoing nature of the family that grabs the headlines. The Queen herself regularly makes front pages for what she wears. Queen Margrethe was acclaimed by Vogue as an unsung style heroine. Fashion critic Anders Christian Masden is a fan of this quirky queen.
Her way of dressing is otherworldly, and I mean that in the best possible way. Of course, also something that comes with being sort of isolated from normality your whole life, then you have the opportunity to be that way. She has actually really seized the opportunity and understood that she was someone who could do that. She who dares.
She enjoys a little bit of provocation. She likes waking people up.
She's a keen historian and she loves the stage, and I think those two things combined have really played a massive part in the way that she dresses, the way she fashions herself as a queen. You'll see her in gold brocade, which looks like something Elizabeth I could have worn. It's almost like armor, completely of a different era.
There's a dark, dark, dark blue, almost black ball gown of tulle, meters and meters and meters of plissade tulle, and she designed that dress. She thought it would be interesting to use about 50 meters of fabric for one dress, and it has flounces and all this tulle is in different layers. It's sort of cascading, and it's such a wonderful silhouette.
She has these other moments that, in my eyes, are more sort of directional in terms of fashion. The dress that comes to mind in particular is a dress by Jan Bender, who did a lot of her dresses. It's a flamingo pink floor-length dress, so nipped in at the waist, like cinched, and you know she's got a fabulous figure. And then it's got propeller sleeves, and it looks like a work of art.
It's not just the statement gowns that make Margrethe happy. The simple pieces equally put a smile on the Queen's face.
The white summer dress. It occurred to me that every time I saw photographs of her in that dress, she was happy. When she described it for me, I had noted that it had piped edging. And I asked if those were gold edges. And she said, oh no, they're not gold edges. I wouldn't be able to wear it before noon. So if you have gold edges on your clothes, it must be afternoon.
The artistic queen has an eye for a fabulous fabric that can be used in her wardrobe.
She was shopping in London and at a department store, and saw some of this plastic-coated fabric, which actually I think is meant for summer tablecloths outdoors. And so she brought the fabric home and had Jørgen Bender make it into a raincoat.
When it rains and she wants to put a smile on people's faces, she will wear her waxy floral garden tablecloth raincoat. I mean, it's out of this world. You know, that is the most eccentric thing. She's anti-minimalism completely. And isn't it funny that you can have a country that is known for this and its queen is the complete opposite? She's so extra.
As expressive as she is with her wardrobe, she's equally expressive in her opinions. It didn't always go down well.
That was not popular at the time when she said this. A lot of people were not agreeing with her.
In 2020, the coronavirus pandemic stunned the world. In Denmark, restrictions were put in place to contain the virus. Not all citizens took the government's advice. Frustrated with their behaviour, Queen Margrethe stepped in and addressed the nation in this frank public address in March 2020.
Man kan stadig se grupper i alle aldre, som opholder sig for tæt sammen. Nogen holder endda stadig fester og runde fødselsdage. Det synes jeg ikke, man kan være bekendt. Det er tankeløst, og det er først og fremmest hensynsløst.
There's an element of the monarch can talk to you a little bit like a school teacher and say, brace up and we're all in this together.
Ingen tvivl om, at en sådan tale, når det er dronningen, der holder den, har en langt større gennemslagskraft, end hvis det er en repræsentant for sundhedsmyndighederne.
This wasn't the first time she'd made her opinion known on the behaviour of her fellow Danes. She spoke openly about the country's attitude to immigration.
In the middle of the 80s, she was quite harsh, quite critical towards the Danes because she didn't feel that they were open. She didn't feel that they were welcoming people from outside, and she actually said that we should do more to welcome people from outside.
It is interesting how those aren't political statements, but they are way more sort of public statements of opinion than Queen Elizabeth II would ever give.
While Queen Margrethe can be a stern mother figure to her nation, the Danish people are more familiar with the fun-loving, generous woman, and so is the rest of the world.
Hvis man ser på verden udadtil, så er hun statsoverhovedet. Hun er den, der repræsenterer Danmark, når Danmark er for eksempel på statsbesøg, eller der kan være erhvervsrejser eller lignende.
Since her first official state visit in 1973 to Finland, the Queen has travelled the globe on over 50 official visits and received 58 state visits in return. Her role as an international diplomat is crucial for Denmark on the international stage.
The Queen of Denmark and her family, they are our best tools we have in the toolbox, you know, in the diplomatic toolbox, because this is where people learn about Denmark. So this little family is also a status symbol for us being Danish.
It's not all about travelling the world. In the Danish realm, Queen Margrethe is regularly seen by her people.
The Queen's major duty in Denmark is to make the Danes feel comfortable. She is traveling around Denmark every year. We have a royal yacht, which we are very happy to have, and the Queen will come sailing into the cities, and she is so happy doing that.
Queen Margrethe's diplomatic skills would come in useful at home. Her husband, Prince Henrik, was not always happy in his wife's shadow. In this 1974 documentary, he expresses his frustrations.
People expect you to do a tremendous lot of things, but they never expect you to be responsible for what you do, because you have to be in the shadow of somebody else.
Prince Henrik on several occasions has expressed his deep frustration with his role within the royal family. Once he gave an interview to a Danish newspaper, and in that interview he basically said that no one respected him, and he felt very, very sorry by that, because he has always tried to work for Denmark.
From the moment Henrik joined the royal family, he strove hard to be accepted. He won the hearts of the Danish people over time.
I think he got to a stage where he said, screw your opinions of me. I'm going to do what makes me happy. And he did. And at the end, people loved him for it.
He was very, very popular. Unfortunately, he started to challenge his positions within the royal family, and also in at some occasion he was extremely rude towards his wife. And he was a subject for some very harsh criticism.
Queen Margrethe understood Prince Henrik's frustrations. She always supported her husband. The couple were devoted to each other over their 50-year marriage.
They say that behind every great man is a great woman, and in this case it goes the other way around too. They were really true companions, but companions who share a bond of creativity that just makes it so special, you know? I think when a creative duo comes together, that's really magic.
In 2016, Prince Henrik retired from public life, yet he would occasionally speak to the press. In 2017, he caused outrage when he announced his refusal to be buried next to the Queen when the time came. It had been expected that the pair would be buried together in a specially designed sarcophagus at Roskilde Cathedral.
When Prince Henrik announces that he does not want to be buried next to his wife in Roskilde Cathedral, which has been the tradition, the Queen is very upset because she believes in continuity and in heritage and history, but she accepts her husband's decision.
This was shocking to hear this, and a lot of people reacted with anger towards the prince at the time. Then, after a very short time, we learned that Prince Henrik was sick. He was not in control of what he was saying and what he was doing.
On the 6th of September 2017, it was announced that the Queen's husband, Prince
Bara no kasikoto kimi ga kakekaga baraki boko ga sono toge wa kasite soni ke kakarite mira no sita furai kiri anasito hiro nezu kusa go ite ki omiso go ihenare iro musu no mikisa wa tose kana Lento kimaga sono ega ga bonito nani yuri ga ita to omotara.
Henrik had been diagnosed with dementia.
And it was very, very difficult time for the Queen. and for the court and for the royal family and for everybody that Prince Henrik wasn't well. He had the dementia.
Prince Henrik died in his sleep at Fredensborg Palace on the 13th of February 2018, surrounded by his family.
She missed her husband, of course, when he passed away. But I also think she was a little bit relieved. She has actually said that in public, because it was also a difficult life for her husband in the last period of his life.
He was a huge asset to the Danish royal family, huge asset. And it's remarkable how much people mourned when he died.
For the first time in her reign, Margrethe stepped back from her role as Queen of Denmark.
The loss of Henrik was huge for Margrethe, and she withdrew for a fortnight and, made her son Frederick regent to kind of rule on her behalf. And I think that shows quite how significant the loss was. Without him, she's a queen alone.
The Queen's sense of duty prevailed, and she was soon back where she belonged, on the throne of Denmark. Since her husband's death, Queen Margrethe has continued to work tirelessly for her country, with her son, Crown Prince Frederik, and his wife, Crown Princess Mary, by her side. Now Queen Margrethe has announced her abdication. Her son, Crown Prince Frederik, will take to the throne.
She is able to give the power to the next generation and feel secure that the next generation is ready for this enormous task.
For over 50 years, Queen Margrethe reigned over Denmark. It was her Golden Jubilee in 2022.
She's someone who understands her duty as queen and somebody who has fulfilled that job with a complete excellence. But she's also somebody who has never ever wanted to neglect her sort of vocation, her other vocation, which is the arts. She's hyper creative.
She is still a very traditional monarch and upholds the sort of things that an earlier generation would approve of.
Queen Margrethe II can trace her lineage back to the first Viking kings of Denmark in the 10th century. The Queen is proud of the past, yet she has a very modern outlook on the world.
She is the monarch of one of Europe's oldest monarchies. The Danish monarchy goes back centuries. There's a kind of modernization that Margrethe has brought with her own personality.
Being able to work between a modern world and the old world, I think she's very good in combining those two things.
She has redefined not just the institution, but the relationship between queen and people.
Queen Margrethe II has changed what it means to be a monarch in a rapidly changing modern world.
She has moved the monarchy forward in all sorts of different ways, and certainly when she came to the throne, she was definitely determined, as indeed was Prince Henrik, I think, to make things more informal and to make changes subtly and gradually, which is what a good constitutional monarch will do.
I think perhaps you could argue that, Margrethe is ahead of the curve in terms of showing a lighter touch of monarchy.
We see her a lot, and we follow the Queen in the social media. We know that she goes to the church every Sunday, wherever she is, and people want to meet the Queen, they can go to church.
She's opened it up. She understands that it's a positive thing, that people know your personality. She very much echoes this self-expression and defiance of a modern young generation.
I think that the new generation in the royal houses across Europe, they are actually looking at Queen Margrethe because there's many lessons to learn.
Like Queen Margrethe, King Charles has spoken openly on subjects close to his heart.
I think she has a lot of things in common with Charles in a way, because Charles is someone who's not been afraid to show his personality and what he believes in and express himself in quite an authentic way.
After announcing her abdication on New Year's Eve, Queen Margrethe brought an end to her 52-year reign. As the longest-serving monarch in Europe and the only ruling queen in the world, Margrethe is a matriarch who has presided over half a century of peace and prosperity with a relaxed and inclusive style.
In politics, you can see our leaders, they will come and they will go. But during these 50 years, the Queen has been a constant. She has been there all the time, and she is a person that people really would like to listen to. And that's a quite a remarkable role to have in a modern society.
Sådan noget kommer ikke af sig selv. Det kommer på grund af et hårdt og meget dedikeret arbejde. Og det er det, dronningen leverer, og det er derfor, hendes stjerne er så højt.
I'm proud of being a part of the Queen's life. Not only privately, but also as being Danish, I would say. She is the one who gives us hope. She gives us hope, yeah. And she is the one directing us to the next generation.
I think her legacy probably very similar to that of Queen Elizabeth II, that she's given Denmark a very happy period of stability. I think it's been a very good reign.
She is like nobody else, and I think there's a certain beautiful irony in the fact that a very normal country up north like Denmark should have the most extravagant, eccentric, avant-garde queen of them all.